Page 256.
Chumash and Rashi, the Torah portion. Vayeishev, we continue with our story. With Yosef, the long-standing story. The longest story in Chumash, actually, right? Of one individual. Okay, we're in chapter 37 of Vayeishev in Genesis, verse 23. Vayi, and it was Kasher ba Yosef. Then when Yosef came El Echav to his brothers, Vayavshitehu, and they stripped him. Vayavshitu, thank you. They Vayavshitu, and then they stripped him. This Yosef is Kutontoi, his tunic, his coat of many colors, is Ksenis Hapasim, the fine woolen tunic, asher olav, that was on him. Rashi is ketuntoi, his tunic ze chaluk. This was his. Here it translates undergarment, shirt. In other words, there is the shirt, and then there was what the colored, what his father gave him. Right. That's what Rashi says now. Right. Kiseines apasim, the fine woolen tunic. He Shahaisif Aviv. This is what his father added to him. Yisrael Alecha, more than his brothers had had. What?
Sinus apostim was something that went on top of his shirt.
That's exactly what we just said.
Cut off first. Here it says he took off the shirt and he took off the sinus apostim.
But that's actually a good point. That's good. That's actually a very good point. It doesn't seem like Rashi addresses it. Maybe because
the 5-year-old didn't notice.
Well, I know. Come on, 5-year-old would notice that. Sure.
The point of taking his shirt off.
What? I don't see where you say that.
Because first it says his shirt, and then it says his overgarment. So the overgarment would come off first, seemingly. Right. Should say that first, and then the shirt. Yeah. No. But it doesn't seem like Rashi's addressing it. Maybe it's not. Yeah, but you don't take off a shirt. You take your shirt off first, or you take this off first? What do you take off first? This.
It'd be pretty tough to take
right?
the shirt off first.
But it sounds like it's the opposite. Sounds like it's that's what he's saying, that it's upon it. And we have to see if there's a sikha from the Rebbe on that. If somehow, I don't know. Anyway, but it's a good question. Very good question. My simple understanding is that it's on, for some reason, it's not a question on Pshutel Shemikra, the fact that it's inverted, because sometimes it's inverted, but Rashi would say that it's inverted. He would say that, and he doesn't say that, so that itself is a question. And they took him, v'yashlichu, and they threw him habeira to the pit. V'abor, and the pit rake was empty. Ein by mine, it had no water, which of course is a question. If it's empty, obviously doesn't have water. So Rashi picks up on that. 24, abor rake vein by mine. The pit was empty. Thank you. Period. But no, it continues. No water was in it. So obviously, there's no water if it's empty. Rashi says, from the fact that it says abor rake, that the bore is empty, the pit is empty. Any yodea, don't I know? Shame by mime that it has no water. So why is it to come and tell us that there's no water? My main boy. So the implication is that it's water there isn't in it. But snakes and scorpions there are in it. Ooh la la la. Why is it learned that way? That's a good question, right?
Can't be born. Yeah.
Good, but why is the verse saying it in such a way? That's my question, right? Like why is so say abor yesh boy why is it saying it in such a way that it's that you have to implication? I don't know. Good question.
And I don't understand why, if it says abor rek, it's empty. Why do you need said ve'en bo mayim?
Well, Rashi explains why. That's where Rashi asks the question.
But rek is enough.
But it's not rake. Yesh bo yad anachash b'akrabim. There are snakes and
So why is he
scorpions there.
saying rik?
It
If
means
we
it's
just
empty.
take it,
It's empty.
if there's something
It's
else,
empty
why
of
is he
everything.
telling
It's
us
empty of
rik?
everything else. Empty of everything else.
So, said Drake, so we would understand that there are no serpents and there are no scorpions. Then he says that there's no water, meaning it's empty of water.
Right.
But they say later.
But something else is in there.
But something else is there.
Right. But again, why it's going in such a, why does the verse have to say it in such a way? That itself is also a question, right? Good, but that's still a question, seemingly. I mean, maybe it's not a question. I know, right? Let's go. 25. We got lots to learn here. Vayeishvu le'echol, and they sat to eat lechem, bread. The brothers, right? Speaking about now. V'yisu, and they lifted einehem, their eyes, v'yiru, and they saw. V'hine, and behold, erchetz Ishmaelim, there was a caravan of Ishmaelites. Baal Megillah, they came from Gillah. Ugmalehem noisim, and their camels were bearing neichais, spices, sri, balsam, valoit, and birthwort. Don't ask me what that is. Holkim, they were going laheri mitzrayma, to go down to Egypt. Okay, so Rashi in 25, a bit lengthy Rashi over here. Orchais should be understood. Kitarguma, according to Unkelis's translation, Shiyaros is a caravan. Al Shem Holchei Oirech, because the word Oirches means a path, a road, right? Meaning traveling on the road. A caravan travels on the road. Ugamalim Noisim, and the camels were bearing. Lama appears in Makosa is Masam. So Rashi's bothered. Why does the verse have to tell us what they're carrying? Who cares? What does it got to do with the story over here? And except Rashi explains. This is to make known the reward of the righteous. She'ein darkan shelar vayim lo says nift v'etron, that the ways of the Arabs is not to carry anything but petroleum and resin. She'reichan ra, that their odor is foul. Ulazen is damnu b'samim, but this one, Yosef, happened to have a caravan that was carrying spices. Why? That he should not be harmed from the foul odor. Because imagine he's going to travel all the way down to Egypt with it. It'd be a foul odor that he would be going down with, and that would harm him. Right? Next Rashi, noichais, spices. Right? So Rashi is called kinusi samim harbe. It's a collection of many spices. In is called this term. Right? It's the first time we have it. It's called based in choisa. So he just shows a similar instance where you see it in the book of Malachim. The blending of spices. Unkelis tirgim loshin sha'ava. Unkelis says it means wax. So he doesn't agree with Unkelis's translation. But he brings it down nonetheless. Yeah. 3, balsam. Saraf hanoite me'atze akatov. These are drips from the balsam tree. Shehu natov, that it is identical with natov, nimna im simane akateres, that's included with the incense that was used in the holy temple. Veloit, birthwort, loitem shmoi beloshen mishnah. Loitem is the term that's used in the Mishnah. And the sages, they explained it. Shirish Esav, that the root of an herb, and in Old French, Aristoloch. I'll leave it for you guys. Okay, thank you. Huh?
There's I remember that flower on Meron. We used to have lotem.
Yeah.
It's beautiful flower. It's very smell good.
All right. Well, for that tzaddik, he got it. 26. Vayomer Yehuda, and he said, Yehuda Alechav to his brothers, Ma Betza, what gain? Ki Nahareg, that we should kill is Achinu, our brother. Vechisinu is Damai, and that we have to cover up his blood. Rashi 26. Ma Betza. Rashi says that this means ma moment. What money, financial gain? Kitarguma is Unkelis translates. With Isinu is Damai, and we'll have to cover up his blood. Meaning, Benalim is Misalsa, that we have to conceal his death. Right. What do we have from that? L'chu. So he continues in his suggestion. Says L'chu, come. Venim karenu, and we'll sell him Lishmaelim to the Ishmaelites. V'yadenu, and our hands alti will not be in him, meaning that we kill him, right? Ki achinu, look what he says, because he's our brother. Bisarenu, he's our own flesh. Who? V'yishmu echav, and his brothers heeded him. This is we see an instance of him as being the leader, right? In the end, kings come from him. Rashi, Vishmu, and his brothers listen. Unkeles, the Kablimine, they accepted from him. They agreed with him. Chol Shmiya, any form of the word Shmiya, which means listening. Shehi Kabbalah's Dvarim, that means acceptance of the words, meaning being in agreement. Kigoin zel, such as in this instance. Kigoin, and for another instance, V'yishma Yaakov is Aviv. As we had earlier in chapter 28, that it says that Yaakov obeyed his father, right? He listened. Manasseh ben Ishmael, also we have that by the Jewish people, that we will do and we will obey. Umeturgam ben Kabul, and Unkelis translates it, we accept. Any form of the word shmiya that means the hearing of the ear, Kigoin, for example, Vishmu is called Hashem, that they heard the sound of God walking in the garden. Right, that was in the beginning of with Adam and Eve. Rivka Shemas, and Rivka was listening. Right, V'yishma Yisrael, and Israel heard. Shemaiti is to Lunais, and I've heard complaints. All of them are translated to be heard. She heard, he heard, it was heard before me. She's just giving different examples. I don't know why you had to go through so much there to show us that it means that, it was heated, that he was listened to. Why Rashi needs to bring so much proof to that seems not such a difficult thing, but okay. We got lots of questions here. Okay, V'yavru, we're in verse 28. V'yavru, and they passed anoshim, men, midyanim, that were Midianites, Secharim, that were traders meaning the business, in trading, V'yimshechu, and they drew him, V'yalu, and it took him out, as Yosef, in other words, they took him out, Mirabor, from this pit. V'yimkeru, and they sold as Yosef, L'Ishmaelim, to the Ishmaelites, right? Even though the beginning of the verse, take note of the beginning of the verse says it's the Midianites, right? Now it's going back to what we said previously, that is the Ishmaelites, right? Just take note of that. The Esrim Kasef for 20 silver coins. The Aviyu es Yosef Mitzrayim, and they brought Yosef to Egypt. So let's see Rashi now in 28, bearing that in mind. The Abra Anashim Midyanim, the Midianite men, they passed by. Zuhi Shayara Acher. This was a different caravan than the one we just mentioned, right? Obviously, it's Midianites. So the verse comes to let us know that Yosef was sold many times. Now, I don't know why Rashi says many times. You say one time, 2 times he was sold. First time to the Ishmaelites, and then the second time to the Midianites. Fine. But why does he say many times? Okay. So that's to be the 3rd time. Okay, good. Okay, good. The Yimshechu, and they pulled. Huh?
It's a quick profit.
Yeah, each one's making a turnover.
Didn't keep them.
Yeah. Yimshechu, and they pulled out Bnei Yaakov as Yosef as Minabor. So it was the sons of Yosef that pulled them out from the pit. V'imkeru l'Ishmaelim. They sold them to the Ishmaelites. V'Ishmael and the Midyanim, and the Ishmaelites to the Midyanim. And the Midyanim, Machros and the Mitzrayim, they sold them to Egypt.
Shem and Levi, the brothers sold them off,
Right.
but the Ishmaelites sold them up.
Yeah.
Hold them up.
Brothers want to
Uppriced. They uppriced it.
Pick whatever you. And then the next people said, you know who he is? That's Yaakov Avinu's son.
How do you know that?
They made a profit.
Well, each one was making a profit. Each one was making a profit, right?
They sold to the Midianites for a profit, right? How
The
did they make a profit?
assumption is that they sold the Midianites, they sold them to the Midianites for a profit.
Correct. So how did they sell them for a profit? Because the brothers wanted to just get rid of them, so they take whatever price. But
I mean, we're gonna see more. We're gonna see about the price. Well, no, it says. Well, no, 1 second. It said Esrim Kosef. It says 20 Kesef. Well, we don't know if what the going rate was. Maybe that was the going rate. Yeah, we don't know. We're not clear. Right. We only know the first price. Right. Exactly.
You know that Abraham wanted to be for 400.
Right.
I guess human fodder was cheaper than land.
For sure. For sure. Life was cheap
Cheap.
back in the day, right?
Back in the day.
Okay, verse 29. Yeah. V'yashav Ruvain, and Ruvain returned El Habor to the pit. V'hine, and behold, right? Ruvain returned, right? Which that means itself that he wasn't there when that happened, right? And now what does it say? V'hine, and behold, and Yosef Babor, and Yosef is not in the pit. V'ikra is begadav, and he tore, he rent his garments. Rashi, V'yashev, Reuven, and Reuven returned. So obviously, where was he that he returned? In the selling of Yosef, he wasn't there. Why? For his day had come, to go and serve his father. Each son came one day and took care of their father. It was his day to be there for his father, right? So he wasn't there. Davar acher, alternative explanation. Also, kaya that he was busy besakoi b'ta'anisoi with sackcloth and fasting. Al shabil avi because he rearranged his father's couch. Remember last week when he took Bilhah, he took his father's couch out of the tent of Bilhah and brought it into Leah's tent. So even though the Torah says it wasn't a sin, if you recall, but he took it upon himself that it was he did something wrong. His father was very upset, and therefore he was doing tshuva. Lots of chassidus on this. So he returned to his brothers and he said, the child isn't, the boy, he isn't. Vani ona aniva, and I, where can I go? Why? Because he's the oldest, right? Let's see what Rashi says. In 30. Ana aniva, where can I go? Ana evrach, where can I flee? Mitzayra shel Abba, from the grief of my father. Right? In other words, this is going to cause him a lot of grief. And he feels a responsibility being the oldest. Yeah, he's the eldest. V'yikchu, and they took es ksenis Yosef, the tunic of Yosef, v'yishchatu seir izim, and they slaughtered a male goat, v'yit belu, and they dipped es ksenis, the tunic, madam, in the dam. So it doesn't say it was okay. Next one is going to say ksenis pasim. So I don't know if this. Let's see Rashi. See, and then 31. Serizim, a male goat, the blood resembles that of man, of a goat, as opposed to another animal. The tunic, zeshma, this is its name. Okay, when it is attached to another word, a construct form, keep going, for example, Yosef, the Yosef's tunic, Ksainis pasim, or a woolen tunic, Ksainis bad, nokud kisoinus. It's vowelized in this manner. Okay. 32.
So the fact that these young men were connecting to God every day made them righteous, but the fact that they did a terrible thing selling their not only did they sell their brother, but they lied to their father. How did that continue to make them righteous?
Because remember yesterday we said that they, because of they were actually going beyond the letter of the law, because by the letter of the law, as they understood it, he was obliged the death penalty, right? So, they commuted that. So, they're still righteous.
I'm going to bring you several objections, but after.
Okay, yeah, let's continue. We need to go more deeply into the Rebbe Sichas to appreciate all of this, but
Are we going to do that?
well, let's continue to see what time we have. V'yishalchu es ksenis hapasim, and they dispatched the fine woolen tunic. V'yaviu es el avim, and they brought it to their father. Vayomer, and they said, "Zois matzano, this we found." Right, this we have. Haker now, recognize it, please. Aksenis bincha, it's the tunic of your son, imloy or not, right? Oh, that's all they said, right? They didn't lie there. There was no lie in what they just said, right?
They lied,
33.
They lied by omission.
But that's not called lying. It may not be fully honest and fully upfront, but that's not called a lie.
So I guess if I don't tell my wife something, I'm not lying to her.
Not a lot.
Yes, that's true.
But it's something your wife can't find out.
Yakira, and he recognized it, Vayomer, and he said, Ksenis b'ni. It is a tunic of my son. Chayara chalasu. A beast devoured him. Right? So he said it, not the brothers. Taruf Toiraf, Yosef. Yosef has been torn apart to bits. Oy. Painful moment. 33. He said, "This is the tunic of my son. Hizu Hayara chalasohu. Chayara, an evil beast devoured him. It's Nansa by Ruach HaKodesh, and a spirit of the divine Holy Spirit came to him. An evil beast that devoured him was a prophetic to the fact that Seifa, that in the end, Shetis Gara by Vayeishev Potiphar, when Potiphar's wife will provoke him, right, to having relations with him. Why God did not reveal to Yaakov that Yosef was still alive? Because the brothers put under ban Vikilgala and they cursed. It's called Mishi Gale, for whoever would reveal the secret to Yaakov. And they made God a partner with the ban, that God would curse them. Right? They made together, the brothers, right? Said, okay, anybody's going to tell our father, God is with us on this, that you're gonna be cursed.
They
Right?
didn't tell their father.
So therefore,
They
no.
sent an emissary.
No, listen to what's being said. Well, listen to the point. Right. It says over here, that beast, right? So he's asking, why didn't God come and tell him? Like, why is it an evil beast? Because you know who the evil beast is? Potiphar's wife. Right? So Rashi then, I don't know how this fits in exactly. A second point that he's making, right? Why didn't God reveal to Yaakov, after all, he's his man, right? He's a holy man. Why didn't he reveal to him that he was alive? Because God was a partner in the curse. But Yitzchak was aware that Yosef was alive. But how can I reveal it? But God doesn't want to reveal to Yaakov. You have to understand, these people are godly men. God is with them, and God is revealing to them everything they need to know. So Yitzchak is saying, how could I say anything to my son that Yaakov is indeed alive? Because if, being that's the case, God would tell him he's a holy man. But God's not telling him, so I can't tell him. I can't tell him. Wow, that's fascinating. That is fascinating. Okay, 34, we're good? Fascinating. I'm not clear why Rashi brings this over here at this point. Like as a continuation of, evil animal, right? An evil animal, which is referring to Potiphar, hinting to Potiphar.
For me, it's an evil.
You know why? No, we're learning Chumash Rashi. Let's pay attention, folks. Let's not learn our own ideas here. Let's not learn our own. Are you with me? Anybody with me?
We're with you.
I don't know, because so that okay, I have the answer to my question. The second part of Rashi, you know why? Because the first part of Rashi was a prophecy. The first part of Rashi said that he was devoured by an evil animal. Chayara. Who's the evil animal? Potiphar. That was a prophetic vision that he was saying, Potiphar's wife. Yes. And that he was saying something that he was prophetically shown to him. But he didn't know that that's what it meant. Those were the words that God gave him, that he was prophesying something that he didn't realize he was prophesying. So Rashi now continues and says that he was given prophetic vision to express, not that he understood what that meant, but he was not given prophetic vision to know that Yosef was still alive. Yitzhak was given that, but not him. That's why Rashi goes through the whole thing. Okay.
No, Yitzchak did know that Yosef was alive.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Where did you get that from? Where's that from?
Because Rashi is saying it's specifically that Yaakov didn't know, right?
Where did you get that from?
Well, he thinks his son was killed he thinks his son was killed in the very words of the animal that killed him.
Was killed.
In the
Did Yitzchak not think his grandson was killed?
Because God came to him and told him prophetic vision.
How does Rashi know that? That's what I was asking.
Oh, because the inference of the verse, that's what the verse wants to come and tell. Because the fact that he uses a term prophetically, God gives him the words to say that an evil beast devoured him is prophetically saying something of the future, that the wife of Potiphar is going to, right? Right. So, but that was told to him, that was given to him, but not the fact that he was alive. Only to him that he's not alive.
She got the idea that Yitzchak didn't know. How do you connect that? How do you connect that to answer my question?
Because it's specifically only him that doesn't know.
Where did you get that from?
Or how did you see that?
Because he's saying that his son was devoured.
And what would Yitzchak say?
No, the truth is, you have a good question. The truth is, the truth is, it's not sufficient. You're right.
He needed to take it from somewhere. Rashi needed to take it from.
So I think he's the way I'm understanding, but it's not a full. I don't think it's a full explanation, because I think what you're saying is still a good question. It still needs more explanation, but he's taking it that specifically Yaakov doesn't know, which means Yitzchak, who is a holy man, does know. That
I'm not asking about the brothers, because Yaakov's sons for sure know. Okay, and God says you got to keep it secret. Got it. Okay, and that so they didn't lie.
But it's all
dipped it sort of plus him in goat's blood, and they brought the thing in. He could jump to his own conclusion. but it doesn't explain Yitzchak.
I don't know. Good question. Okay, we have to look in the Rebbe's Sichos. Yeah, okay, good question. Let's go further to 34. V'yikra, and he tore, Yaakov Simlaisav, his garments. Interesting, it's plural, his garments. V'yalseim, and he placed sackcloths on his loins. V'yisabel, and he mourned al benoi over his son, Yamim Rabim, many days. Rashi in 34, Yamim Rabim, many days. Esrim Ushtaim Shana, Keshem 22 years from the time that he departed from the time that Yosef parted from him, until Yaakov went down to Egypt. Shanamar, as the verse says, Yosef ben Shva Yisrael Shana, that Yosef was 17 years old when he was sold. Right? Yesterday we said that. Ben Shloishim Shana Haya Ba'amda Lifnei Parai. He was 30 years old when he first stood in front of Parai and he interpreted his dreams. Shevishnei Asava, and then there was 7 years of plenty. Vishnasayim Harav, and then there were 2 years of famine. That's 9 years. 9. So he's 39. So when Yaakov came to Egypt, so from 17 taken away from 39 is 22. Right? Keneged, and why those 22 years? Because that corresponds for the 22 years. Shaloi Kiyam Yaakov Avinu Yaakov Kibbud Aveim. That Yaakov did not fulfill the mitzvah of honoring his parents. He was also away 22 years. Esrim Shana Shai Beis Lavan, 20 years that he was in the house of Lavan, which they Shanim Baderach, and 2 years on the road. Meshuvah min Beis Lavan, when he was returning from the house of Lavan. Shana v'chetzi b'sukkos, a year and a half in Sukkos. This is last week's Torah portion. V'shisha chadashim v'beis kel, and 6 months in Beis Kel. V'zeu shamar v'Lavan. This is the meaning what he said to Lavan. Ze li esrim shana v'beis secha. This is 20 years that I've been in your household, implying lihem, they are mine. Alayhem, they're upon me. They're on my account. So if you lilkos connect them, in the end, my fate will be that I'm going to suffer corresponding to these years. Wow.
She didn't. Yaakov learned in Aver's yeshiva for 14 years. How did you not add that in, Rashi?
Because you don't have to keep Kibbud Aveim when you're in yeshiva. You don't have to go. Rashi said that already. We learned that already, right? We learned that.
Right.
Good question. Okay, 35.
But he doesn't mention.
Because he mentioned it. He mentioned it already. He mentioned it already. In Parshas Vayeishev. The Yakum Chol, and they arose, all of his sons, Chol ben Esav, and all of his daughters, and Nachamai to comfort him. But he refused. Lis Nachem, to be comforted. But Yomer, he said, Ki Ered, I will go down El Beni, I will go down El Benid over my son, Avel, as a mourner, Sha'ila, to the grave. Vayef, and he cried, Oisei Aviv, for him, his father. Rashi 35. Oi. Chol ben Esav, all of his daughters. Rashi picks up on that. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Zacharias, the Omer, were twin sisters. No, the Im called Sheva v'Sheva, that were born with each and every tribe. Because it says plural, daughters, right? We know about Dinah. Where's the rest? Right? Huh? Right, but here the verse is saying daughters again, right? It didn't say, I forget, it said v'gam, because before we learned it only from the word gam, that was an extra, also, right? When also born with Binyamin, so there Rashi said, there's also twins, or there was actually double twins, right? Triplets, exactly. Born from each and every tribe, and also when they married them, Rabbi Nehemiah says differently. The Canaanites, the wives of the sons of Jacob, were Canaanite women. And what does it mean? All of the daughters. Kaloisa means his daughter-in-laws. If a person doesn't hesitate to call his son-in-law a son, and his daughter-in-law his daughter. Right? That's when things are good. Right? And he refused to be comforted. A person doesn't accept consolation alachai over the live person. You see that with the hostages, right? That they don't know they're alive, not alive, right? And even then, if you don't have their body back, you know, you're not comforted. Halachai over a living person, Sovishemes, whom he believes that has died, because there's a heavenly decree over a person who has died, shishtakach min alev, that it should be forgotten from the heart for those who survive. Aloy alachai, but not over a person that's alive, that they should be forgotten. That's a fascinating idea.
We're
Right.
going back to the brothers now.
What's
Rabbi.
well, let's finish Rashi here, no? No, it's finished. Ered El Bani, go down to the grave over my son, Kamoy Al Bani, concerning my son, over my son. Al, many times you use the word Al, El Shol, El Beis, Hadamim. It's giving different example. El Lakach, Aaron, El Lakim. Means over, right? A grave mourning, kipshutai, according to its simple sense. Loshin keverhu, it means a grave. Yaakov is saying, Be'evli ekaber, I will be buried in my mourning, v'lo yisnachem, and I will not be consoled kol yamai, all of my life. Wow, wow, wow. The midrash, and what's a midrashic explanation? Gehenim. Gehenim, he says, Simin zeh haya maser b'yodi. I have a sign that was given over in my hand that was transmitted to me, mipi agvura, from God, from the mouth of God. Im lo yomus echad mibonai b'chaye. If not, one of my sons will die in my lifetime. Muftachani, I am assured she'eni rei Gehenim, that I will not see Gehenim. Aha! In other words, he's going down to the grave, right? Meaning to Gehenna, because now one of his sons died, so means, you know, he was assured that if his sons wouldn't die in his lifetime, he wouldn't go to Gehenna. Aviv, and his father cried for him. Yitzchak would cry Yaakov, because of the anguish that Yaakov was going through. But he did not mourn because he was aware that he was alive. Again, Rashi is taking from the words that it says he cried his father, right? So he's taking from there an inference that he cried over his passing. Yitzchak only cried because Yaakov was in anguish, in agony. But otherwise, he knew he was alive, so he wasn't crying over that. Next, let's finish off over here because we're finished or late. Midyani Machru, I say, the Midianites sold him, El Mitzrayim, to Egypt, the Potiphar, to Potiphar, Saris Pare Sar Hadabachim. He was a minister, a chamberlain of the butchers. Rashi in 36, Hadabachim. They would slaughter the king's animals. They didn't use a stud gun, they slaughtered.
2 minutes now.
1 second. Okay, folks, we'll see you in a few moments.